Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Eminence Rigbe and welcome to Tie This Technique. So today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a bubu dress. I'm going to be using this Kampala or Adiwe fabric as it's called. I love this dress because you can make it in a few minutes and it's quite casual. You can wear it to basically everywhere. So you can decide to use an Ankara fabric or an English material, whichever way you want. I think you can be as creative as you want for this particular dress. So if you want to learn how to make this dress, please keep on watching while we dive right into the video. So as you can see, I've laid down my fabric and this is what it looks like. I laid it into 4 places because I'm going to be cutting the back and the front together. So that's why I have four layers. If you see it, you notice that I have 4 layers here. And for the upper part, this is what it looks like. In case you don't know how to fold yours, this is how I folded mine, which means I'll be cutting the back and the front together, so keep that in mind. So now the first thing I'm going to do is take my full gown measurement, and for this gown I'm going to be using the gown length of 39, and I'll add 2.5 inches for 2.5 inches allowance. So 2 inches will be for the folding at the down and half inches will be for the joining at the up. Sorry, I'm rushing. So the next thing we are going to do is take our shoulder measurements. My shoulder measurement is 16 divided by 2, which is 8 inches. So as you can see, I've gone ahead to mark it. The next thing I'm going to do is to take my sleeve measurement, which is 11 plus 2 inches for the folding allowance for the sleeve. So that's what I did here. You can do it this way. I think this method is quite easy. Instead of you taking the measurements from your neckline to your sleeve, I think this one I did here is always accurate. Sorry for the for blocking the camera, but what I just did here was that I went down by 2 inches from the upper part just to get the shoulder slanting. I hope you understand what I did, but I'm going to say it again in later in this video. Now the next thing we are going to do is that from that shoulder slanting, I'm going to go down by 8 inches for the armhole, like so. As you can see in the video, I went down by 8 inches plus 1 inches for sewing allowance, which made it 9 inches. So I'm just going to put 9 inches there. Now I'm going to go in again from there to go in by 4.5 inches just to be able to get the curve. So 2.5 inches will be for me to get the curve, and 2 inches will be for the folding of the sleeve. Remember, we added 2 inches for this folding of the sleeve when we were taking the sleeve length, so we are still going to do the same thing to get this curve. I hope you don't get confused. Now after taking the 4.5 inches, I'm going to go down by 3 inches so that I'll take my bust measurement on that line. I went down by 3 inches. Now I'm going to take my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 35 divided by 4 is 8.5 inches approximately. So I took 8.5 inches plus 3 inches for ease allowance and 1 inches for sewing allowance. So basically you can just decide to add 2 inches for the ease allowance, and I think that is standard measurements you should use for this bubu dress, but I decided to use 3 inches for mine because I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. So I used 3 inches. So 8.5 inches plus 3 inches for ease allowance plus 1 inches for sewing allowance. So let me just explain what I did here. The first measurement I took, was 8.5 inches plus 3 inches for ease allowance plus 1 inches for sewing allowance. Then I'm just going to go ahead to make the curve. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hip line measurement, and this is 25 inches. So after placing my 25 inches, I'm going to place my hip measurement, and my hip measurement for is 38. So 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So I took 9.5 plus 3 inches for ease allowance and 1 inches for sewing allowance, like I did for the upper part. So remember I said you can use 2 inches for your ease allowance, but I used 3 inches for mine. So now I'm just going to connect. You can see that it's already coming together and it's now looking like the A-line dress you normally see. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'll move to the down part, which is the last part, and I'll take my hip measurement, which is 9.5, and place it there. But I'm not going to be adding 3 inches for the ease allowance. I'm going to be adding 2 inches for the ease allowance because I want it to be a little bit fitted. I notice if you use the same measurements from the up to down, it might be just too straight and too wide. Trust me, it makes a difference when you just reduce the ease allowance by 1 inch. So I took my hip measurements and I added 2 inches for the ease allowance plus 1 inches for sewing allowance. So you can see how the curve is. This is always beautiful. Try it. So if you want it to be straight, you can just make it straight like that, and it should just be like that. And mind you, if you want to make an A-line with this pattern, you can also make an A-line. All you need to do is just from the bust parts, from that part where I'm checking right now, just curve it to the edge, just slant it to the edge, and you just get an A-line. Now moving on to the neck. For my neckline, I used 4.5 inches. I wanted the neckline to be wider, so I used 4.5 inches, but the standard neckline should be around 3 inches to 3.5 inches at most. But for mine, I'm using 4.5 inches for the neck width, and for the neck depth, I'm going to be using 4 inches for the neck depth. So for yours, you can just use 3.5 inches, or you can still use 4 inches. It will still be okay. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to connect it. Remember, I used 4.5 inches for the neck width and 4 inches for the neck depth. For yours, you can use 3 inches or 3.5 inches at most by 4 inches for the neck depth. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my back. Mind you, this is my front neckline, so I'm going to take my back neckline now. So I went down by 1.5 inches. That's also a standard measurement you can use. So now I'm just going to connect it together, and we are almost done. And I'll make from that neckline, I did the shoulder slanting and connected it to the sleeve, as you can see. Now we are done. Yeah, we are basically done. This is it. You can see it's quite fast, it's not stressful, it's super easy. Now let me just go again, because I think I was too fast. So my neck width is 4.5 inches, my neck depth is 4 inches. Yeah, my shoulder is I took my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I took my sleeve length, which is 12 plus 2 inches, making it 14. Then after that, I went down by 2 inches to get the shoulder slanting, and after that I took 8 inches for the armhole plus 1 inches for sewing allowance, making it 9. You can extend this to maybe 10 inches for a bigger size. Now I went in by 4.5 inches, 2 inches for the folding and 2.5 inches to get the curve. That's what I did here. Then after that, I came down by 3 inches to get the bust line, and that was where I placed my bust measurements. So I took on that line, I'm just doing it so you can see it. On that line, I took my bust measurement, which was 8.5 inches plus 3 inches for ease allowance plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So remember, I said for yours you can just use 2 inches for ease allowance. Now the next thing I took was that I took my hip line. You don't need the waistline for this one. So I took my hip line, I took my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 3 inches ease allowance plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then at the down part, I took my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches for ease allowance, 2 inches, not 3 inches, 2 inches for ease allowance plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. See me, I was making noise with my book. Remember to cut only this. Remember to cut only the side when you are cutting. So remember to cut the back first before cutting the front. Don't cut the front first, because you are going to end up cutting the two as the front. So cut the back. After cutting the back, you're going to take the one inside out. That will be the back piece before cutting the front neckline. Watch the video and I hope you understand. So as you can see, I'm done cutting the back piece, so I'm just going to take out the inner piece out, and that will be my back piece. So the next thing I'll do is to cut my front neckline, and this will be my front piece. Now that we are done cutting, the next thing to do is to turn the neckline. So I'm just going to use a bias tape to turn the neckline, but before that I would like to add some patches just to give the dress a little bit of style. So I'm just going to add a pocket patch to it. You can go ahead to add a fabric on it, just be creative as you want on this particular dress. You can be so creative, it can be so free on it. So I'm going to use this fabric, and I'm going to use this fabric to make some patches, just to make some patches to put on it. Now before that, I'm going to turn my neckline with a bias tape, but I'm not going to join the bodice. So I'm just going to turn the neckline. So after I'm done doing that, and I'm done joining the pocket patch, and the length for this pocket is 9 by 9 inches. If you use 9 by 9 inches, I think it should be okay, because it was okay for me. I think it should be okay for you. So I use 9 by 9 inches, and I turn the upper part by 1.5 or 1 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it the way I want. You can place it anyhow you want. You don't have to follow my own style, but you can place it anyhow you want. But make sure that when you are placing it, place it at the under bust, because if you place it at the waistline, maybe your waistline is 17 inches, by the time you wear it, it might be too deep when you are placing your hand. So you're going to place it at your under bust. So now I'm just going to measure for my shoulder to my under bust, which is 15 inches plus half inches for the joining allowance at the up. So I'm going to measure 15.5, and I'm going to just place it at that spot. Now I'm going to pin it down and sew it round like so. So as you can see, I'm done sewing it. You can see it's fine. It's just simple and nice. Now the next thing to do is to join my shoulder together, and after joining my shoulder, I'm going to turn the sleeve by the 2 inches that we added at the beginning. After joining your shoulder, join the sleeve. It's easier that way, instead of you joining the bodies before joining the sleeve. It's just very easy that way. So I'm going to fold the sleeve, join the body, fold it down. As you can see, we are done, but you know what to do. I'm so sorry that I'm rushing, but this is how it looks like, and you can see that it's looking beautiful. I'm definitely going to wear this to basically everywhere. So if you watch this video to the end and you love it, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Support me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it to your friends. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching.